think I'm recording. Hope I am anyway. It's Dave Dobbs here. It's the I've got my glasses on. I'm afraid I've been crying my eyes out. It's the 28th. Ironically, my mum's going to have an operation tomorrow. That's the only kind of like hospital appointment I'm going to miss, unfortunately, before I get back to Blighty for her cataract operations. That's her. But her friend John's taking her. So anyway, sorry. Another thought. I've been crying my eyes out there. Actually, I've been having a massive clear out. I've left all my stuff here, and basically the mice have got in there and eaten everything, destroyed so much. And but in the process of having this massive clear out of all this stuff, my life in my caravan and my truck and everything just in a total mess, where I've left it and the mice have got into it. And I've had to come out and get it. This is the only time that when the boat's going back in the water on the 4th of Feb. So this has been my only window, and it's been the perfect window because it's given me the opportunity to do this thing when this thing flies by and do it. Because you might call me a doomer and gloomer. You might call me a doomer and gloomer. I don't believe this is the end of the world at all. I don't believe it's anything like that. I believe this thing has come around every 340 years and it will do it. And that's what it does. Round and round and round it goes. And we go through our story with it. But whatever you think of me, from my opinions and what I talk about and trying to charter this system, whatever you think of me, whatever opinion you have of me, it would be, if it was a low opinion, it would be rightly so if I didn't attempt to at least live my life according to the movements of this thing as best I can and do all the stuff that I do. Because if I can't do it myself, if I can't live that truth myself, then I really am a total fake in this. I would be a total fake, so I have to do it. I've got a truck full of food, and it's all really long storage stuff that would last for years. You know what I mean? I've deliberately done it because unless I do it, unless I live this, unless I carry this out and take this to the, because I didn't know when I entered this what my role was in this, and I feel like today, I found my ring today. I've lost this ring for a long time, and I lost it at a friend's festival. And ironically, I thought I lost it at a friend's festival, and it's a dear friend. But in that community, you can never be a guru in your hometown. Not that I'm trying to be a guru or anything else like that, but you can imagine in my own community, they cannot see it, and I have to honour and respect that as well, because I don't know if I'd be able to see it from another perspective. A friend of mine, it's such a far out thing. It's such a far out path, but the difference for me in the pathway that I'm walking right now is that I was given the confirmation I had in my process. For whatever someone might think of me, I had a moment where I was beyond doubt. Just me. But I was offered a perspective in all of this of nothing more than we see right now, but beyond any doubt in what was laid bare to me. And what I describe in Laughing Gas, that moment where I'm given this message, was a moment beyond doubt. And the writing process, I was because I was taken by the hand through so much of this, I could look at it from a perspective beyond doubt, so I could override my belief system, so I wasn't tearing my head apart in the research. I could go that little bit deeper simply because the truth is just laid bare. But my doubt, my filters were massively removed in the process of writing that book. And for you, for reading that book, I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm really not trying to sell it to you. And I recite parts of it, but I read so badly that, and I you know, it's, you get it for £3 or £4, I think, on Amazon at the moment. There's, you can get sales on Amazon are cheaper than I can sell it on Lulu. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know who gets that money. Do you know what I mean? But the £3.50 ones and that sort of stuff, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just like partially second hand from, I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? But the the process I've gone through in this is the process that I attempted to offer in that process. But I don't know if that's the book he was talking about. So I'm going to read you a few more sections of Laughing Gas, but I've got a funny feeling. It seems as the world is lost in Netflix at the moment. And seeing Steve's writing his book at the moment, Death of a Godspell. I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I can't wait to see it, because you understand, last time in the last video I said what horrific, terrible. I'm so sorry. I was so angry with the Christian religion. I'm so sorry. And I was really angry with the Christian religion. But I want to give you another side to that now. And I want to tell you, this is keeping Steve at mind and keeping all Christians at mind in another sense. I want to tell you what a beautiful faith Christianity is. What a horrible, evil, nasty religion it is. What a beautiful faith it is when you are guided in your heart by that. Not by the rule book in your head, not by the external thing, but when you can enter it and access the wisdom as a faith. Where you can find it in your own heart. Accept all things as they are in the greatest beauty that they are, and be truly at peace. The infliction of Christianity as a belief is a very different matter. We become robots. Oh, painful programs. If we recite this word for word. Turn it into a dark spell. So we've got to kick away the stabilizers of this religion. Kick away the instruction book now. And embody that wisdom. And become the teaching. Don't need to preach the teaching anymore. Live it in the example of your lives, of who you are and who you might be in your finest, best potential. Let that be the yardstick of what a Christian is and nothing more. You know, it's clearing out this truck. You know, I don't need to write this stuff out because I'm a writer more than anything else. I'm a writer. I love writing. I synthesize information, and that's how I bring it together. All the stuff that I've given you, I could never have given you that if I had not written it out in the most eloquent manner and explored every part of it on paper and break it down and rip it apart and bring it together. You know, it's whatever comes out of me. It's not so much of it is not raw, straight out of me, just off my tongue. So much of my data is backed up by so much research and writing my stuff out so I know it and understand it. I understand the mass of it, every part of it, upside down, top to bottom, side to side. And then I feel comfortable to talk about it. I can talk about it because I know what I'm talking about, and it's so much easier to talk about something when you have researched it. You may be incorrect in your research, and how much of my research has been incorrect, but you have been with me through the workings of that, and that is as much data as we had at the time, so we had to make the most of that data, and we had to make a model that worked with that data, only that data, without fabricating anything, and without adjusting without adjusting the rotations in any way to kind of like to kind of to bullshit it. You know, it's just, you know, it's like gears in a gearbox. You know, that's all I've been doing. Mostly we've just been looking at trying to work out the rationale of how of the ratios and the way they move. And, you know, I'm not down with airy-fairy bullshit. I need the absolute astronomical mechanics. You know what I'm like. You know, I predicted that earthquake to the day, did I not? Right to that point, right to that fault line, right to the fault line that separates the kind of like the Eurasian plate from the African plate, only because you've seen with me going through this absolutely pinpoint by pinpoint, like Dutch Synths has been doing, like Dutch Synths, you know, all my mathematics on the kind of like seismic activity, you know, in terms of how I charter it, are all coming from Dutch Synths, and he has proved himself over and over and over again. We've seen the way the earthquakes start around the Pacific Basin one way or another, and they move out one way or another, one way across, and we see the way energy can't move across the Atlantic because of all the stuff that's kind of like Dutch Synth has taught us. The mid-Atlantic I don't want to say, but that ridge that separates the two, that runs up that runs up right through the Atlantic, that Dutch says goes deep down, one of the deepest, if not the deepest, fault lines going down. Nothing moves across it. Guy's a genius. Guy's an absolute genius. That's why we know anything that's coming into Europe comes via China. And do you remember in the video before I said, guys, you've got an earthquake in China. You know which way this is moving. You absolutely know which way this is moving. This is why Carlos Ferrada could predict the earthquake on the 20th. He said that he hadn't had enough experience of this, and because don't forget, we are getting global observations of this now. He didn't have this type of data coming in. I mean, he was flying this solely with his own kind of like telescopes and things like this. You know, we've got eyes all around the globe, and we've got a history of this. We can put the patterns on, and when we've seen the big earthquake on the 28th of September 2018, big one, you know, where he's got the guy bareback riding in the roof of his house in a liquefaction earthquake to an up and coming tsunami with the neighboring hills overtaking it. You know, that occurred on either the full moon or the new moon. I can't remember which, but then you get the next one and it occurs again on either the full moon or the new moon. The next tsunami that was in Indonesia, with the whole top of Krakatau blows itself off. You know, in late December, just when we're getting the passage of this thing, we get the epic sights of it, everything. You know, we're just getting to see every aspect of how this works now. We get all the sightings and that sort of stuff. And please, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who posted the image, and I wasn't specifically. Is it? Let's share my screen very quickly, because seeing as we're live and we'll just go straight. Let's just do it. I've got my glasses on, basically. I found these glasses, basically, and they're 1.5s, and they're just utterly useless. That's what's going wrong, I've realised. So we've got that. Let's... if I can find his channel. So sorry, my eyes are... that's him, isn't it? This video here, you know, it's such an incredible video. It's such an incredible shot. Is it going to go? It's just absolutely amazing, isn't it? It's just absolutely amazing. And it wasn't specifically his video talking about Christ or anything else like that. It's just that it's just that seeing what's happening with Trump and seeing what's happening with Fox all over. Look at that page. I mean, look at that page, guys. It doesn't that just say, oh, this just, I haven't got a YouTube anymore. I literally haven't got a YouTube. Fox, probably Fox. It's just like everything is taken over with Fox News and Trump. And he is just being backed by the Christians because of their belief that they have to back Israel, because of this whole biblical story. You're being massively played. And I just want to tell you, just come out of that being used as a machine in blind belief and see the bigger story. Does that look like the face of Jesus on that thing? You know, you can see why Trump's inauguration was right on the flyby of this thing. Just, you know, okay, it was on the 20th of January, but the 21st of January, when it flew by, filled up the whole Mexican skyline. Came with a massive 8.0 earthquake in Papua New Guinea. 8.0. You think, you know, when I made that video and I was just like, now we've buttoned it all down, you know, we've got this cycle, we've got this one absolutely mapped out. I've just been making these videos for too long, chartering this too much, you know, and certainly the new model using sort of like, using Universe Sandbox has enabled, you know, we have a new map of the solar system now, guys. It's crystal clear. It's absolutely crystal clear. You know, there's another video maker out there. I haven't lined up much shots for it, you know, but it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the next little part of that chapter, the next little part of that book, Laughing Gas. I'm just having a complete and utter meltdown, basically because I've got to drive off I've got to drive off and back to Blighty, and basically mice have just destroyed everything, just pretty much torn everything apart. And you know, like I say, I've got this massive pile of food and and everything else of that, and you know, all this stuff that I've done, this journey that I've been on in this, and this new place that I'm arriving right now, this brand new place that I'm arriving, it's just like I'm arriving at a brand new place right now within myself. That's why I wanted to make a video right now and share that with you, because you don't always get a window on yourself. And I thought, when I'd finished doing this, writing this bit that I'm writing, that I'm offering you now in Laughing Gas, I've watched a couple of Netflix series. I watched that Second Life one. I couldn't believe there was a part in it where they land on this planet to look for food, and they go down this. Oh no, look for energy, and they go down a magma tube, and they pull out this crystal or something, this power thing, and suddenly this moon comes up, and it's pulling on. And they're in the dialogue, they're saying that it's pulling on the magma of their planet, and they've got to get out. And they're like, oh my God, we're stuck on planet X. And I suddenly became aware, oh my God, we're starting to permeate. We're starting to realize how much of our data that we talk about in all these crazy videos is pouring in to these new Netflix scripts. You think, when I started shouting out the water from the Great Flood came from Mars, suddenly Guillermo del Toro, William of the Bull, Billy Bullshit. Oh, it's just fantastic name, just genius name. Comes out with his kind of like Pacific Rim, and big monsters come up through this sort of like through a massive great tear right through the Pacific Basin. And I'm just kind of like saying, I'm just coming out showing you for the first time a fault line that it only appeared on the map in 2001, 2000, the Emperor Hawaiian Seamount Chain. Up until 2001, it was just the Emperor Seamount Chain. It was kept, it had been known about for years, since the time of basically kind of like modern warfare, submarine kind of times. But there were strategic hiding places, because basically, Hawaii, I mean, to have Hawaii, you've got the most defensive point on the planet. Effectively, 90% of Americans' long-range missiles are located in Hawaii. You have control of that. You kind of have geopolitical control of pretty much most of the globe. It's a powerful place, But why? Is it because it's the most geopolitical powerful land point, or is it because the Pacific Ocean itself is the most guarded place on the planet? But underneath that, regardless, you've got the Emperor Hawaiian Seamount Chain, 4,600 kilometer long underwater fault line. It's just a little bit longer than Valles Marianas, 4,000 kilometers long, perfectly straight. Will Thornhill will tell you it's a massive plasma bolt, just like he'll tell you how those volcanoes that look just like volcanoes, and I predict when they're going to go off because of this thing going around. We just saw the sight of it. Do you remember when Kilauea went off? And we were just like, oh my God. And everyone's just like, Dave, your model's wrong. Look what's going on. This thing is going off. You haven't accounted for that. And it was true. I had not accounted for that. My 200-day sequence didn't fall into that at all. And we realized that we knew there was a twin. We knew there was something going on. We just that's our true dynamic of the absolute true dynamic of the twin, the two. And that's the next one that's the next bit we can calculate when we're next going to experience that one, before we come back round to what if it happened, if this flyby was late January, just as I said it would be. Then the next one is going to be late February 2021, and possibly the next one will be late March 2022. But We know its cycle, exactly. We know Elon Musk has just been, suddenly stating he's going to make 100 rockets or something like that. Why is he making 100 rockets? What is going on where they have to mass manufacture rockets? You remember when he sent his kind of like the car into space? $200-300 million to send his car into space. And it's gone. It's overshot and it's gone. And the only thing we have from all of that is the 6-hour footage that was in the car. Batteries only lasted for 6 hours. No solar panels. No, that was it. That was the show. Whatever was on that footage was the show. And share my screen. I need to move that out of the way. Just go to your channel and go to my vids. Just look at some thumbnails, eh? Says it all. Is it going to work? Let's look at some of these thumbnails. Let's remember what Elon Musk. I won't play you the footage. These two. These two. These two. These two. One of those is that. Scott Sion shot captured in May 2017. Telescope in the sun's corona. It corroborates with more recent ISS shots. I added that to his because I'd used his footage. I didn't know I was sent his footage by a woman called Christina Lamont, who was the woman who put me onto Jupiter massively. She was one who kept getting in contact with me saying, "Dave, what Jupiter?" And I was just like, "No, Blue Katrina, stuck. I was never really stuck. Always just letting the maths tell me, just staying with the maths, not going to doubt, disbelief, just staying with the science and the maths exactly. You know, when the earthquake went off on in China, the 7.0 before and the lead up. Remember I was saying this is where it's going to move across. I'm simply applying the mathematics of what we're seeing and using all the information Dutch Sense has taught me to understand about. There's no magic trick there. That guy is a genius because he doesn't need to make it up. He's not need to pull it out of the ether like some crazy mathematics that he pulls out of the ethos. Like he's an Einstein. He's not offering you that. He's offering you tried and tested observations of how the energy moves. And you just watch it and it just sees the energy fluxing out over and over and over. It does it over and over. And he's not always right, but you start seeing how he's doing it and what's going on and how the energy, and you just start realizing this is not even that complicated. It's not even that complicated what he's showing. You know, it's just like it's very, very, very. He's not a clever man. He's an observant man. He's an observant man. He's just allowing the information to tell what it's telling by seeing the correlations and patterns and taking the time to observe them. And that's all I'm doing. You know, you're all making of this, whatever you're making of this. You know, I have my interpretation of where I come, but you're all on your own sacred journey in this, in your own special perspective of this, all coming to it from from your own individual way, and you're processing in your own heart. And right now, it's all about coming back to that. You know, maybe those of you believe that Trump is really this guy that's going to deliver this thing. You need to be waging peace now. You know, but coming back again to my truck and the mess inside, I feel like one of Elon Musk's rockets, where a part has fallen away. And in the rubble of it, I found my ring. And I was given this ring, and it's got, when I was writing Laughing Gas, and the whole time I was writing Laughing Gas, it was total bliss because I had a complete connection. I had absolute miracles going on. And at the time, I'd had this total, I was just the whole part of it was just a total miracle. It was a complete connection all the way through with whatever the space is that opened up for me during that time. And I was able, after I had to work very, very hard. I had to dedicate myself absolutely up at 5 o'clock every morning so I could open up that same space that I opened up in my dream time, so I could enter straight into it before I had a chance to wake and learn to access that point where I was beyond my doubts, where I could access straight into the beyond doubt space, where I could operate and just write under cover of attacking doubts that couldn't permeate beyond it. My mind was a free mind. I was beyond the reach of doubt, the attack of doubt. And so I could process the information and go there much more easily. Without going into self-destruct, without hitting a belief system. I could go through and go beyond and operate beyond it for whilst I was writing it, and it enabled me to open it. Obviously, whilst I've been doing this timeline, I've been battling against the belief systems, which is why I absolutely stay with just the sightings and the mass of the sightings, rather than, you don't hear me, well, I suppose I go on about all the stuff I go on about, don't I? I just am what I am in this process. I just am what I am in this process. But it'd been a funny time when I'd been given this ring in the truck that I've just found in the truck. Because like I say, I lost it a few years ago, and I really felt as if it was the gods, kind of like, it's, we just do the best we can. When I've been given it, I can remember I'd had this mad thing. It was the first time my mum had told me she got cancer, and I was saying I got in contact with her, and I was like, look, I'm going to come back. And she said, please, sweetheart, I so don't want you to come back. She said, what I love more than anything else is for me to be able to go to and have my operation. And she's like a guru in Glastonbury. She's like a guru, because she was, back then she was a channel, and she was always singing down the ashrams and kind of like, and she just like, she's utter Glastonbury, but not from personal gain or anything else like that. Just a lovely being. She said that she'd got cancer, and I said, look, I'm going to come back. And she said, no, please don't come back. She goes, I don't want you to see me like this. I don't, because you were going to have our breast removed. And And she said, I don't want you to see me like that. And she said, but I'm in so much joy. She said, because I know now that I'm not going to stay. I'm not staying. I'm returning. She goes, I forget that I'm going to return. I'm going back to the other side. She said, I can't wait to go back. She goes, not that I want to die, but she said, I can't wait to go back to my big family. And I was like, I was in so much joy for her because she was in such a joyous place. And I was like, and I did want to stay in Inca. Don't get me wrong. I did want to stay because I'd had a year I'd had a year of writing Laughing Gas, 6 hours every day, even when I was in England. For the 6 months I was in England between the year, I spent a year out in India up to this point when I got this ring, more or less. But I'd had 6 months in England. And I just locked myself way up in the mountains where I could live. I could rent a mansion up in the mountains on the side of a ravine, of this big ravine, and it was like 20 quid. It was like 20, 30 quid a month or something like that. It was nothing, for this massive mansion. Big pink mansion built onto the side of this building. The woman who built it, this Sannyasin, I just met her by chance up in the mountains. My whole reason for going up there was just like, it was all just like totally India. And I arrive up there and I meet this woman, and she lets me have her place, and she built this palace. And then just when she'd finished building the palace, she wanted to go off and get all her stuff. So she goes off and gets all her stuff. And then when she finally comes back, moves everything in, and dies in a hammock. Literally just dies in a hammock. And she said to me that she had a heart condition. Tarika, sure it's Tarika. So she built this palace, and I was the first one who kind of moved into it, and I just had it. I looked after a cat and just had this palace up in the Kulu Valley. Anyway, I spent 6 months up there, locked away, waking up at 5 in the morning, doing 6 hours. And I come back to England, and I had to work at the festivals and that sort of stuff. And then I went back out to India. But this time I went because I'd had this massive, mind-blowing experience, and I wanted to bring so much of. I didn't want it to be just lost in this spiritual journey. I wanted it to be a bit fun and a bit funky and I was writing the whole bit, which was all just like trying to capture a crazy crack vendor, not like what you want to go to, not you want to go to Goa to go on a crack bender, but it was to define that part, to catch a third and fourth dimensions in the book, and the whole adventure of being in Goa, the liveliness of it, the partiness of the free-minded thinkers that are there, and the whole kind of like. And I dragged a surfboard there as well. I dragged this 9-foot surfboard that you couldn't get on the plane or anything. And the only way I could do it was just taking it right through as if I'd got a ticket for it and getting it and waiting till the last minute. And then finally managed to get it on the plane after this big kind of got this massive surfboard on the plane, and managed to get it down to Goa. And I was just I was just living the dream, basically, just writing this book, living the dream in Goa. And then going through this whole thing with my mum telling me she's got cancer. And I'd opened this space in my writing that was just so incredible, that it was just gunning through me. And the vibrations of the place, they were just so happy that I was able to capture so much more of the vibrant characters that I was trying to bring alive. And even though I wasn't in South America, I was kind of like in a vibrant space. And I remember because of this space that I was opening in this early morning practice, I said, after speaking to my mum, I said, is there oceans on the other side? Do I surf? And anyway, the next morning, I got up and I went down to the beach. And I stood at the beach. And it was a pristine day. It was a pristine day. And it was just such a perfect day. I felt fantastic. I felt and I and I looked up and I saw a plane, or at least I thought it was a plane. And this is hand on my heart. I mean, hand on my heart, you think, why would you fake any of this shit? You know what I mean? Why would you fake any of this shit? Anyway, hand on my heart. But the, you know, it was what it was. I looked up and I saw a plane. I thought it was a plane, but it was much shorter. And I thought, what the hell is that? And then I realised it was like a cube. It wasn't a cube. It was like a parallelogram shape without any wings. And I just saw it and I thought, oh my God, it's a UFO. It's a UFO. I'm seeing a UFO. And it was like it was falling out of the sky sideways. And I was like, and it's like it's just literally falling down towards me. And then it just stopped right next to me, in front of me. And the door opened. And I jumped on board. And my wingman was there. And I took these headphones. I don't know what they were because it was so quick. Whatever they were, there was something. I took it and I went, and I put it on my head. And I woke up in my bed and I said, "Oh, nice oceans." You know, for all the sightings that I show you and everything else like that, we are in a massive galactic story that's been controlled by religious orders. And it's a much bigger story opening up for all of us now. And it is beyond belief. So many of you can now see the whole carbon story. Total bullshit. From top to bottom, side to side, front to back. Total bullshit. But with so much investment in it, and all these carbon credits and carbon trading and da 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 da. How do you back out of that? How do you back out of that? You know, GSM is Grand Solar Minimum is kind of a step forward to try and tackle the problem. But what really needs to be understood is that you've all been deceived, and more than anything else, you deceive yourself because you are being invaded by doubt, which is the fundamental currency of belief. self-doubt. I just can't believe what's happening right under your noses, happening right in front of your face, happening all around you. You know, I'm getting pretty precise with this thing, aren't I now? I'm getting pretty precise with this thing now. And I thought, well, let's turn this into a Netflix series. I thought, why not? Let's turn this into a Netflix series. You see, this bit here that's happening right now, this is the bit that's actually happening now. This is here. You're part of this story. You're part of this now. You're here and now. This is happening to you in your world now. What's going on? That massive earthquake that just happened in Turkey, that they're desperately trying, the USGS is desperately trying to downgrade to a sort of like to a 6.7. I mean, just the damage it's done, the amount of buildings that have come down, it's just absolutely, you know, it's just like, you know, in 1986, it wasn't just on the 26th of April, 1986, when Chernobyl went off, when there was an earthquake exactly the same day, you know, on that same fault line, that runs right up into the Himalayas, effectively, or part of it. Certainly, the sort of like the fault line that separates the Eurasian plate, you know, the whole plate that Europe sits on, the whole plate that Africa sits on. The line drops down, but it also carries on. That fault line also carries on. That fault line is a direct connection. It's an absolute direct connection, but it's a branch, and that's just whatever comes down there that's where it's going to go along that fault line. Where else can it go? It's just like it's really not rocket science. It's just plain obvious how the energy is moving now. But there was another big earthquake. It was it was in August 1986, and it was also in the Ukraine. And it was listed as a 5.5. It's listed as a 5.5, very small earthquake. A very small earthquake that destroyed 5,000 homes. 1986. When did they send Voyager off, or Voyager 2, to find Pluto? It was really, obviously, Jupiter. 1986. When did we last see Halley's Comet? Oh, it's Halley's Comet. 1986. See these odd patterns, this absolute precision all around this thing. It absolutely displays absolute. It doesn't mess around at all. It does everything really quite big and spectacular. Every sighting it offers is just jaw-dropping. As is the thumbnail on my channel there. The shot coming in on the 25th January, on the 21st of January, 2017, on the day of Trump's inauguration. Massive one. Very interesting. It's overwhelming now, isn't it? But what's interesting for me more than anything else was that, anyway, sorry, back to the ring. I'm so terrible. So I'd had this experience in India, and I was sitting in a restaurant with some friends, and it was at the moment Kay is the kind of artistic director for Shangri-La, which is a very cool field in Glastonbury Festival. And but back then it was a girl called Emma. So there was quite a few kind of people, kind of head honchos in that. But one of the ladies was Emma, and I was sitting with her and her partner G, and we were just sitting in a cafe, just having a beer, you know, having a little chat, and he puts this ring on the table, kind of drops it down on the table, just drops it down and that sort of stuff, and I was just like, and then I just look at this ring, and he's just sitting on the table and that sort of stuff, and I pick it up, and I'm looking at it, and I look at it, and he goes, "Yeah, bought it in the market." He says, "I don't know, really, don't know." And I picked it up, and I just looked at it, and I was just like, I just couldn't help but put it on that finger, and I looked at it, and I counted the stars on it, and it had 9 stars, and for me, 9 has always been the number of service, and for me, this writing laughing gas, for me, you know, to put 4 years into this thing, 6 hours a day, never missing a day, just doing this practice, it had to be an absolute practice, because that's what my dad had said. He said, "Son, all I can tell you is you're not special." He said, if you want to do this, you have to, what did he say? Oh God, he's so kind of like, yeah, it's just like this. The first thing was like, you're not special. You have to understand you're not special. There's no one, in the eyes of this greatness, we are all equal. We are all equal. And so whatever comes is merited by the efforts you're willing to put in. But he also said that it's so important to have a practice. So I decided my practice would be 6 hours a day. And so that was embodied, because 9, but when you go to 9, you go to 10, you go to a new cycle. And so before you go to 9 is a completion number. It's the last in the cycle before you go to the 10, before you go to the next one round, to the next level, if you like. And so on this earth, 9 is the number of service. And so it's because it's when you give back to those entering at number 1. And then you can go on, and then, you know what I mean? And then you're in this is the grand loop. And so 9 was the number of service, and I was having this opportunity of writing this book just to be in service to something greater than myself. You know, we have what's going on the ego level, and being in service to that. And even when you're complete ego, you're still in service to this. Your humanity is still in service to this. You know, and when you serve your human needs, you know, you are serving yourself truly. That is when you are truly serving yourself. And when you serve your soul needs, that is when you are serving your higher self. That is when you are serving a higher point, and you can serve also within that higher point from that, where you are serving what the soul is in service to, what the higher soul is in service to. And what that is in service to, I You know, how many layers to this? How many layers? I don't know where I slot into this. That could be right down here. That could be right up there. How can I say that my God is thy God, is the big God, because it is my connection to that divinity. Anyway, I stuck it on, and he said, that's yours, that's your ring, that is. He said, I knew that was for you. I said, oh no, I said, I can't. He goes, no. He said, I knew it was for you. He said, as soon as you put it on, he said, I knew that ring was for you. It was so weird, such a lovely gift. Anyway, I lost it at this festival, in my mate's festival, and I looked everywhere for it, and I tried to search for it. Because when I lost it, I didn't know whether I'd fallen out of service. Because sometimes, doing this is painful, isn't it? You go up against so much when you're a truther and you make this sort of stuff. You go up against a lot. You can feel the people's opinion about you when they have their opinion. You can always feel someone's opinion if they doubt everything you are, think you whatever. You can feel it. You condemn people with your judgments. You have no idea how much karmic imprisonment we create by our judgments of each other, and what restrictions we place upon each other in these savage belief systems we operate in this self-created prison that we have all created for ourselves through this story of doubt, which is implemented with belief. How do you get a glimpse of something beyond doubt? I asked once, I said, when do we all open our eyes? And the answer I was given was, how do you open your eyes when they're already open? I thought, this is the now. You're with me now. If you've watched me this and you're one of my subs, and you're kind of like, for wherever you take this and whatever you think, whatever you think this is, and whatever story you throw it, those of you who are finally seeing this. Anyway, so that's where the ring came from, and I lost it basically. I lost it at this festival, and I found it today. In the clean-up process of chucking all this shit out, getting rid of all this shit. And when I found it, I realised I have been lost. I thought, I had to deal with it. I had to gather all that stuff. Not that I'm not going to need all that stuff, and not that it's not going to be essential in this process, and not that it's a good thing, because I just feel if I can't do what I'm talking about, how much does it cost? Like 200 or 300 quid to go and buy a load of food that you can store for a while and that sort of stuff, and maybe a bit more than that. Do you know what I mean? But it's just like, it means you can do it without, and you can do it and just think, no, I'm just going to do that. But anyway, everything's been eaten, everything's all just completely kind of like in the right old state, and I'm just chucking all those clothes away that I had when I did all my election stuff, all just been destroyed, everything just been destroyed. But you know what? Every one of those suits I used and abused. I wore them to the full. I run for so many different campaigns because you see, I can't be in my country and have an election going on and not get involved in somewhere and throw energy into it. So I just get bitter and angry like it was the other day. And I'm sorry for being so angry the other day. It's just seeing YouTube just being taken over by Fox, where just everything is just being buried. It's just like back in the old days where I can remember when I found all the original sightings that enabled me to build the model, and I spent months and months. I knew they were there. That was the difference. I knew they were there, and I knew the times that I was going to find them, so I could do very specific searches over a very long period of time, and just eventually I number crunched them, and I knew where they were. I got them because I knew they were there. I knew they had got enough of a pattern to know they had to be there, because it was just too many oddities. There was like 1,000 days apart, and it was like 400 days apart, and there was another one like, I don't know, it was something like that, and there was it was just like, and then the one that fitted in, it was just whatever it was just like, oh my God, there's a pattern, Once you've got a pattern, all you've got to do is stay with the pattern and track it and track it and track it and track it. Find out why that pattern exists. And just follow it. And when that shot came in, in May the 4th, 2018, when Killer Air started going off non-stop for 6 weeks, and then we get the shot on the 17th of June, that famous shot that I've shown so many times, direct after Massive. I was just like, what the fuck is that then, Dave? And I'm just like, what the hell is that doing over there? And then I had to jump the model. And then we finally got to this point here where we realized finally, with all this information, all this seismology, all this volcanism, everything, we can put this together. We can see almost every part of this now. There's a new video maker out. I think I bought his shot in there, Stefan Silvio. Let me, if I say it once, then I'll be able to understand it. Now it's starting to see what a real dimwit I really am if I don't kind of know my stuff. Stefan Silvio Constantines. I can't even blame my glasses on not being able to properly say that. Stefan Silvio Constantines. It might be even something else on the end there as well. So I might have missed a little bit of his name there. Sorry, I found that really difficult. Stefan Silvio. Okay, cool, got it. Okay, I can do that now. See where the two planets were there. I put it on the thumbnail of the last video. See where the two planets were to the right-hand side. Do you remember in my early videos, if I go right back to where I came in on this, probably, oh man, I've made some crackpot videos. I don't delete them because I just think, you know what? You've got, at least you can see my workings through this whole crazy journey. Because, more than anything else now, what I'm realizing is it wasn't about coming to the mountains or not coming to the mountains. It wasn't about surviving this or anything. It was about this journey of remapping our galactic center, where we are in all of this. This has been I would have never considered myself an astronomer. Never in a million years. Never in a million years. Would you consider me an astronomer? It'll be interesting to see what you say about that in the comments, because I don't know what I am. But if you would, what you tell me. But I've had to open myself up to an astronomical perspective. I mean, I think about all the years I used to spend. I tracked up to kind of Mongolia with a telescope, but not to see. I mean, we wanted to see Comet Halley-Bopp. We did take the telescope to see Comet Halley-Bopp. But I wanted to see what was beyond the sun. You know, it wasn't really like a massive telescope. I've got to be honest with you. It was like this. It was like I picked it up in Beijing. It was about that big, and it came out to about that big, sort of thing. So it's kind of looking glass. It was cool. It was actually Russian, but it had come over the border, been kind of brought across by some traders and sold in China in a military hardware shop in China. And I managed to get this Chinese army jacket as well. Chinese army police, green with these kind of yellow cuffs, but they're like, we're going into -30. It's like February. You're going into the coldest part of Europe, of Asia in February. Right up to the Siberian border. And, you know, I didn't want to have something ironically like I'm wearing now and just been looking like a tourist and that sort of stuff. I wanted something where we kind of blend in a little bit, whether a Chinese army jacket was really the right thing. But, oh, my God, I bet have any money we're doing on a shoestring. Got this kind of jacket, just like this jacket for basically $10 US in Beijing. And it was just walking sleeping bag. It's crazy, absolutely crazy for $10. Like serious heavy duty. I mean, I should have just got Saddle Pets really, but they just didn't look nearly as fun. Kind of like quirky, kind of like track across, because we were going to have to go to kind of Mongolia and we weren't allowed to go into that area that we were going to go into. The tourists aren't allowed to be. Tourists weren't allowed in Mongolia back then. Even to get into Mongolia was a total blag. But once you're in, then you're just like, you know, you're not going to stay in the centres. You're going to go out to the areas. But then, you know, you can only carry $5 worth of Togrog sold on the street, because that's the amount of money you could carry. It's like a massive great pile like that. What are you going to do with all this like suitcase of money that you get for $5 on the black market? That's the kind of level of kind of like crazy exchange for Togrogs. You know, you could hire a whole load of horses and they would just like take off this $5 pack of Togrogs. They would just take a couple of notes off the top and you would just take this whole posse of kind of like of horses, of their kind of like Mongolian horses, and hairy camels. It's just insane. It's just utterly insane. Anyway, when I'd left Mongolia, which, you know, I'd seen an eclipse there, but it was completely cloudy. It's completely cloudy, but it was amazing because we'd met this beautiful Mongolian guy who lived in a ger up on the mountains, and he pointed to me and he'd drawn a picture of a wolf in the snow, and he didn't know there was an eclipse going to happen. Maybe he did know, I don't know, but can't remember really. But anyway, he was on top of the mountain. He must have known, and to see this, and we basically had to get a lift up to this place with an arm in this army camp. Of course, we got there, and in the dead of night, we bunked out of the army camp because we just wanted to be off in Mongolia in that area, and that was the perfect means to get up there. But once you're up there, you kind of like, okay. So we had to kind of break out of the army base, and so we just left in the dead of night, and we just didn't know where we were going to go. So we made our way towards these mountains, and we were told there's wolves up there and and that sort of stuff. I mean, who knows? And I mean, anyway, so we just did this trek, got to the top of this mountain, met this guy who'd got these horses and these camels, and he took us to his place. And during the eclipse was amazing, even though it was cloudy, because you saw it was just white and flat forever in the sky. You just saw this line, perfect line, it just moved towards you. just incredible, perfect line. Not perfect, but you get the light, and suddenly, because you're in the white, you're in the luminance of that other light that is beyond the sun. This crazy other light that is somehow beyond the sun. And it's the sun's corona. Anyway, it was just like I gave him this when he took us back, and he finally took us back to this. I can't even remember the name of the town now. Yeah, to Ulaanbaatar. We were trying to get back to Ulaanbaatar after this journey. Well, I was trying to get, because I came back on my own, but I can't remember. But it was kind of run by the Russians before the Russians left. It was Outer Mongolia. Had this big Soviet rocket in the middle of this place. Can't remember what it was called. Maybe it'll come back to me. But I was nearly on the tip of my tongue then. But when he'd got his eye, I knew he'd got his eyes on this telescope. He just kept looking at it, marveling at it. Just to him, you know, he was like a proper kind of like indigenous, you know, his whole family living in Gers and that sort of stuff, right out, and just camels and kind of like camels and horses. I ate horses dick. Can you believe I ate horses dick? Like, so horses dick. No, it's so wrong. You had to be polite to eat, to have it. You know, we just felt so weird there. And you know, they served this up as a delicacy, and they need that flabby kind of like gristly kind of, because it's so cold. They need all that stuff. But, oh God, you know what I mean? Just crunch it forever, and just like, oh man. But you know, we had to do it because it's a real energy. We were just complete outsiders there. It's just like, it was, you know, fortunately I had a bottle of this Eclipse special edition vodka that I'd got in Ulaanbaatar in some tourist shop. And there's not many tourist shops, because not many tourists again went through the place then. You know, this was before the time when you could get visas for it. Just impossible to get visas for it. We just had to go and take our chances and get to Beijing and just blag it all there. Just sort it all out there. Because there's just no way of getting your head around any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I gave him this telescope. But you know, I don't think I really saw anything next to the sun on that trip. But I did see on the way up there, Comet Hale-Bopp. Got this breathtaking view of it. Literally, one of the girls we were with, the one who actually got us the visas, because they had all said no to visas, you couldn't get the visas. And then this girl Daisy had run up the stairs, and she'd gone through their security, got to the top of the embassy, and all the security came out, and she knocked on the most important looking door, and someone had come out, and she said, oh, I'm so sorry, we're astronomy students, we're traveling off to la 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 to go and see it, la 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 la, and they're saying that we can't go. And he just turned around to her and said, oh no, we have made a special policy that people coming for astronomical research can help. She said, well, could you help us sort it out? She said, yes, I will come down. And he just came down, and bam, just the impossible became possible. Just amazing. But anyway, I gave him this, you know, we went to say goodbye, and he tracked us all through. It was freezing cold. It was like, must have been like, you know, from early in the morning when it was dark, on wooden saddles, going all day until maybe 3 o'clock in the next morning on a wooden saddle. Thighs just red, raw, like you cannot believe. Just agony. Just hip breakingly, just crutch breakingly agony. And it's like minus 25. It's like 3, 4, 5 feet of snow trekking through sometimes. Just insane. Just insane. I've just nearly got that, the name of the of the town that we went from to get to Ulaanbaatar. I mean, the whole thing was just an epic adventure, you know. And that, so I guess, you know, she said we were astronomy students, and that's what got us in. I guess we were astronomy students, really. But that's what it's become. That's what I realise, is this has become about building astronomical model of our galactic center, so that we might realign with our galactic centers and come out of this little story of self-doubt and belief. Jump it up a level. Run the operating system in here, not out there, not in a book out there. Upload the operating system, or trust that you are now uploaded sufficiently that you can kick the stabilizers away and show what it is to be whatever you think you are. Anyway, sorry, I'm waffling on, and I'm just on a total mind-blowing about just everything that's going on at the moment. I really am. And I wanted to just go now briefly to the shot that we got, my first shot. There's one, look at that, straight there. Now, that was taken on the 28th of August 2015 in the Pyrenees at sunset. Now, you can imagine, when I saw this shot, look how far the sun is away from the horizon up in the mountains. This is zoomed, this is, excuse me, but it's not zoomed in that much, but it's the eye. I can't remember really, you must have been that so long ago I took the shot, but you can see something up here that looks like something. My glasses are really so, but and what I showed various different shots of this, but what I saw was 1, 2. These two were like 2 rings in the sky, or maybe it was that one. It was just like, can you see it? Just like 1, 2, looked like 3 there. But it looked like a whole cluster of spheres. But at one point, you could distinctly see 1 and then 2, and they were overlapping. And this light behind, what was this light behind? What was this thing that was behind this thing? You know, where was that light source coming from? What was going on there? And you think about that. That is August 2015. Now, assuming that now we understand is Jupiter and Saturn, from the perspective of my new model, I'm not going to lay it all out right now, because I'm going to build this new model with this new information, because it corroborates and it gives me, because think about this, if this is Jupiter and we're assuming we should then see that same perspective, this is now 2015, so we go to 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, we come to 2020, that's 5. Yeah, and that's 5 years. And this is August 2015. So we're talking about, we want to see whether this same exact pattern corroborates with the movement of Jupiter, like everything else has corroborated, to see if we can give yet another layer of confirmation to the absolute irrefutable fact that we are seeing the exact patterns of Jupiter exhibit itself right throughout all the astronomics I've shown in this as of late, as we've updated this model. And again, big, massive gratitude to Christina Lamont out there for kept pushing me on Jupiter, and all of you pushed me on Jupiter. So many of you have out there. You know what I mean? Big gratitude for all of you, especially Steve Olson, who showed these epic shots of it. Do you remember when Steve absolutely started hammering it out on all those shots, and he did the overlays and everything else of that, and one shot after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. You remember? And then Steve overlapped them and was just like, he was like, guys, whatever we think this is, it has exactly the same markings on it as Jupiter. And it's got the same big dot on it, that lower, whatever that lower dot is on the bottom, that big, whatever it's, it's kind of like, is it South Pole? It's North Pole? Is it, what is it? I do not know, but bingo. It's just like, and if this is Jupiter, so think about it, August. We've got to go one whole month, August, September, October, November, December, January, 5 months. Exactly. Same show. So now we know the movement of our sun. We know where these are. Can you see how this is closing in? And we've got enough shots now because of the patterns that we've seen of the twin tail object. We've now got, and because of this, because like I say, we know where our sun's going. We know, I think, which direction our Earth is going because of all the shots of the magnetopause, and all, you know, we've got all of this kind of like, we kind of already have this type of astronomical science down because it's irrefutable, because we can observe it through all these different telescopes and everything else like that. Where we're kind of like, where we're struggling is when the planets go behind the sun from our perspective. See, that's how this model is built. The current Copernicus model is built by the sightings that you have in your quadrant of the solar system at that point in the night sky. And what we're failing to realize is that no matter which side you're on, there's a part of this system which is moving into the daylight sky, like our moon is moving into the daylight sky, and you are not seeing it when it's right there. Whether you're kind of like on, say, the December side of the sun, and then suddenly, you know, and 6 months later, you're on the kind of like, you're on the opposite side of the August, whatever it is, side of the Earth, side of the sun. We have to start becoming aware that that aspect of the in-between space, above or below the sun is out of view on both sides, if that makes any sense, because it's in the middle. And so that's the bit we get very confused about in terms of where things are going. We are living in a story that is a deception. The Copernicus model is a deception. And we're beginning to prove that now. We're seeing that now. We're seeing every part of how they've built this. And every step closer we get to this, I guess, is our awakening. Anyway, I don't think I will read the other bit of Laughing Gas right now. I just thought I'd share that with you. I'm sorry I'm such a mad one, but it's just suddenly I've just realised I'm in a bit of a new space, and I just wondered if you're going through a similar thing right now, coming to a new space, clearing it all the old junk, and starting a new space. I feel like every time I go through one of these big cycles, I go through a whole layer of a whole new kind of layer of the onion with all of this. You know, there seems to be big chunks of learning that come with each model. And I sense that I'm going to build a new model now. And I can bring all of the dynamics. I can bring so many more of the dynamics in. And I think we've got enough information to calculate quite easily with a bit of effort. I won't say now, but I've got a few really good ideas. But we'll just run the correlations again in a model until we work out the sequence. It's that simple. You know, we don't have to make this up. We just have to try the different, just by what we see, and run them, and you know, just by the patterns of what we're seeing, and see where they pop up. That's what we've done with all the others. Everything else is fitted in quite sequential. You know, when you've seen that shot on the 4th of May 2000, sorry, not seen it, when we'd experienced it in Kilauea just went off. And then we'd had the kind of like, then we had the sighting on the 17th of June. And then it was just like, you could lay that out on the current heliocentric model and see, obviously, and Mars, you know, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are all still in the same positions in my new model. It's Jupiter and Saturn that are in a different position, and you could see just by what we'd experienced in May 2018, with Kilauea volcano going off, and then the sighting in June, and where we've seen all the other big shots coming through. It was like exactly on schedule. And oh no, sorry, that wasn't in the timing. That wasn't in the 200-day. That wasn't in the 200-day cycle. It wasn't exactly in schedule. That was the whole point. It wasn't in schedule. The sighting before had been exactly on schedule, and that we weren't expecting anything. Again, like I said, we were saying September the 17th, around about September the 17th, and the earthquake happened but the big earthquake tsunami happened on September the 28th. So we knew we were going to get a massive seismology, and then we'd had a big sighting of it, just as I'd said we would on around about the 8th, I think, around about the 8th I've seen over India, massive shot, like a massive volcano in the sky on the 8th of September. You know, this thing, you know, we've learned so much about the movements of this thing, and I'm obviously so destined to be here to piece this together from a perspective that has been afforded me through the process of writing Laughing Gas. And I thought, yeah, so I thought I'd share that with you, because this is happening now. This is our experience now. You know, you're not going to read about this in the past. Those of you who are watching this now, you're in this now. You're kind of like, you've all suddenly realized, oh my God, you know, we just didn't know how close this is going to be. I knew this was going to be whatever it's going to be. We know however this is going to come in, whatever it was going to be. We know every part about it. We are piecing more and more together. We know that the only 2 times we've seen massive kind of like real big movements is, like I say, February the 27th, 2010, and the big, what was officially listed as a 9.6, and come on, it was a 9.6, even though they definitely try and downgrade it and make it sound like it was just a kind of like, it was just a little tremor. Fukushima on the 11th of March 2011, which is an odd sequence because it's 1 year and 13 days, and I would expect it to be 1 year and 1 month. But the only thing I can say about that is, well, it's the little bit in the equation that we can't bend our, you know, we have to just overall look and just think, oh my God, we've got 2 massive standalone earthquakes in what was it, 2010, 2011, and then we get 2004. What caused that in 2004? You know, like I say, what specifically caused that in 2004? Difficult to say, because this new model that we're building, hopefully it will reveal it. Hopefully it will all reveal itself as we, well, at least we can, you know, like I say, if we can just put the angles of intentions down, where the sun is, what direction the sun is specifically going, what direction the earth is specifically going. I think we can now draw, and because we know that 1986 is the point where it kind of span around Planet X, our sun came in and then span out the other side of the Planet X system. This massive cycle that the Planet X system, that Jupiter and Saturn orbit, that our sun orbits, in this 340-year cycle around it, not it, around us. But anyway, we're at a point now where we're all ready to take it up another level if we want to. So please don't feel I'm battering all you Christians out there that follow in faith and live by beautiful example and aren't running around with this rule book in your hands all the time, reciting these rules and ramming it down other people's necks and reciting all this stuff like it's all going to happen like this. We can let go of this and use this rather than telling how things are going to be. What about trying to just use it as the rule book in your heart? Of how to be the best human. People afterwards might say, he was such a lovely guy. And say, yeah, I think he was a Christian. But, oh. And one last thing I want to mention on top of all of that, and I'm sorry it's been a long video, I really waffle on, don't I? Was that when my mum channels, you know, the first one I used to channel was a man called John. He used to come through as John. And he came through as John because in one of his lives, he'd been a monk, a Christian monk in a monastery not far from where we lived in Brighton, near Brighton, when I was a kid. Oh, my dad used to channel him. It was amazing. His messages were incredible. I think it was him I once asked, I said, what's it like being here compared to where you come from? He went, put my arm down a bit. He went, like mud. Told us all about all the earthquakes we'd experienced in that we were going to experience, and the big changes that we'd see and that sort of stuff. And then she started channeling White Cloud much more. Well, he started channeling White Cloud much more. Sister Anna, John. You could feel his presence when he came. You know, I really didn't stop to think how mad it was until I was kind of a teenager. And then I went right off the rails. I was going to say something, I completely forgot what I was going to add to that last little thing. Yeah, so my mum always prayed to Jesus. And John and White Cloud talk about prophecy, that it is prophecy. It is a great thing that's about to happen. You're part of it, you know you are. It's a big picture that's unfolding. We've just jumped up a notch. Come back to a bit of clarity. Come back to the gift that's been given to us for all these sightings. And the opportunity of being in service, not to another story and just keep shouting at Jesus again. This has been controlled by the Romans, guys. But through this story, we can find divinity. This isn't Jesus. This is the sacred divinity of this earth. But it might be Jesus. I don't want to take that away either, because I do see that, I know how, and for my mum, Jesus has been a massive part of my mum's life. In actual fact, the cross that she gave me, and that's the other thing I'm desperately searching for now, is the last bit. She gave me her channeling cross, and she couldn't channel anymore, she was too old. She gave me her channeling cross. She'd always have it when she channeled. And she'd always have her Bible by when she channeled as well. I remember once I was asked, would I like to see my spirit mother? And I said, yes, I'd like to see my spirit mother. And she appeared. I went through a veil of light, and this lovely old lady appeared. And her skin was all the lines, all the old age lines were all light inside. She was older than the hills and so beautiful. And she looked at me and she just gently put her head down and she saw me. Her eyes met me, and the eyes met me. It was just like, oh, it's so good to see you. It's just like. And I just looked at her and she just looked at me and she cursed it down and just gave me this look of just like, just. And then I just felt almost, and then suddenly and then she looked down and then she just humbly kind of went down and saw this little temple. And she went down to this little temple, and on it was a candle, a rose, and I think a sunflower. I'm not too sure. It's terrible. Put a picture of my mum. And she said, the old lady said to me, she said, it's so important to build a temple in your heart. You must build a temple in your heart. And I know it's so over the top, the whole message, I so wish it was some kind of cool message that I could come out and it would all just be funky and that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, it's so major what is going on at the moment. Nuclear power stations are literally spewing out radiation as a result of a carbon dioxide bullshit story that spawned the mass use of nuclear power to lower this carbon dioxide, which still is at 0.04, even with all the volcanoes and everything else spewing. Let's see through this silly story, guys, and start addressing some of the real problems and come up with real solutions. Take care. All in love and word. I will do this next section, and you know what? This next section of reading it, but I just see my battery's gone. Oh my goodness me! But so I better go now. But I will put, when I do it, I'm going to put SD1's latest video over the top of it. I don't think he'll mind as I recite it, because then you won't have Bob just go around. All the love in the world. Take care. I'm just saying that because my battery light's gone and I've got to go and find a charger. Take care. And